What if I told you there's a corner of Switzerland where people speak Italian, palm trees sway beside glacial lakes, medieval castles rise above the mountains, and lunch might involve creamy risotto and a crisp local white Merlot? Welcome to Ticino, Switzerland's Italian-speaking south, and quite possibly the country's most unexpectedly magical region.
Hi, I'm Barbara Noe Kennedy, and I recently traveled through the canton of Ticino, exploring hidden alpine villages, dizzying suspension bridges, lakeside towns, and centuries of layered history. And honestly, I completely fell in love with it. So come with me. Let's explore Ticino.
Bellinzona is the capital city, and it looks like a movie set. 3 enormous medieval castles tower above the valley, guarding one of the most strategic routes through the Alps for centuries. Whoever controlled this pass controlled trade between Northern Europe and the Mediterranean, so everyone fought over it. The Romans, Dukes of Milan, Swiss forces. Today, the castles are a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and walking the fortress walls feels a little like stepping into Game of Thrones, minus the dragons. The views stretch across vineyards and mountains and deep green valleys in every direction, and it's hard not to imagine armies once marching through the exact same landscape below. Today, the town feels peaceful, with a weekly market filled with regional produce, a Baroque church called Chiesa Collegiata dei Santi Pietro e Stefano. There are cafes and piazzas, snow-capped mountains all around. But Ticino isn't only about history. It's also a paradise for hikers. We headed into the mountains on a 5-mile trail beginning near San Defondente, winding through forests of chestnut trees. For centuries, chestnuts were survival food here. Families gathered them every autumn, and they dried them and produced charcoal to survive in what was once a very poor region. Many residents eventually emigrated in search of a better life, leaving all this behind. So you'll see old, just tiny chestnut houses, some of which have been renovated into coveted vacation homes. So you keep on climbing through the forest, and eventually, after about an hour, you reach something unexpected. This swinging bridge suspended high above the valley floor. So this is the Tibetan bridge between 2 mountains in Ticino, built in 2015, high up over the canyon. Have to say, I'm a little terrified to go across, but lunch is on the other side.
Okay, so if we're ready, we'll just...
At first, I tried very hard not to look down, which naturally made me want to look down constantly. But somewhere around the middle, the fear gave way to something entirely different. Awe. The silence out there was incredible. There was just wind, distant water, the sound of the bridge softly humming beneath my feet. From the center, you can see waterfalls spilling down the mountainsides, tiny stone hamlets hidden among the trees, layers of green valleys fading into the distance. It was one of those rare travel moments that feels thrilling and peaceful at exactly the same time. On the far side of the bridge, there's another stretch of hiking through the mountains, and we finally reached one of the most unexpected places on the trip. It's a tiny Romanesque church hidden deep in the forest, parts of it dating back nearly 1,000 years. It's San Bernardo. And from the outside, it's almost unbelievably simple. Rough stone walls, a modest bell tower, weathered by centuries of mountain winters. Our guide, Augusta, she lives right next door. I think she's always there. She speaks very good English, and she helps preserve its stories for future generations.
Please.
The walls are covered with remarkably vivid medieval frescoes painted using natural mineral pigments, including precious lapis lazuli. And this is why the color still feels so startlingly bright today. There are frescoes of saints and biblical scenes, folk motifs, tiny details everywhere. And then there's the painting that truly stands out, the Last Supper. Instead of traditional biblical foods, the table is filled with local Ticinese dishes, including freshwater crabs and cherries. And so somehow this ancient religious painting didn't feel distant or formal anymore. It felt local, felt human, like the artist was quietly saying, the sacred story belongs here too. That evening, we learned how to make one of Ticino's signature comfort foods, risotto. And let me tell you, the recipe appears to involve 3 essential ingredients: butter, Parmesan, and absolutely no concern for moderation. There were generous pours of local white Merlot, constant stirring, heated debates about texture, and by the end, everyone looked extremely happy. Was my risotto restaurant quality? Probably not. But did I eat every single bite after hiking across a mountain suspension bridge? Without hesitation. And honestly, paired with a glass of Ticino wine, it tasted perfect. Next, we hopped aboard one of Switzerland's famously efficient trains, and just 15 minutes later, arrived in Lugano. And suddenly, Ticino felt even more Italian. Palm trees lined the waterfront, cafe tables spilled into sunny piazzas, ferries drifted across sparkling blue water beneath steep green mountains. Honestly, if someone dropped me here without telling me where I was, I'd probably guess northern Italy long before Switzerland. Though Lugano's history stretches back over 1,000 years, the city transformed in 1882 when the railway arrived, turning it into a tourism and banking center. And today it's Ticino's largest city. We stayed right on the lake at the Grand Hotel Villa Castagnola, where mornings began with mist floating across the water as the mountains slowly emerged in the distance. The hotel once belonged to a Russian family. One family lived here. My room itself felt enormous. Well, it was enormous, with tall ceilings, old world elegance, sweeping views over the lake. My favorite spot was the balcony, just looking outside at the peace and calm of that sparkling water. And it's easy to understand why artists and writers fell in love with this place. And one of the most famous was Hermann Hesse, author of Siddhartha and Steppenwolf. After World War I, he moved to nearby Montanola, searching for peace and creative renewal. And he found it here among the gardens, the olive trees, and lake views of Ticino. What surprised me most was he didn't just write here, he painted. Small watercolor scenes of rooftops and mountains, village paths, glowing hillsides inspired by the landscape around him. And for Hesse, watercolor became a kind of meditation, a way to quiet anxiety and reconnect with beauty after years of war and emotional turmoil. Today, you can still wander among the quiet lanes above Lugano where he once walked, surrounded by flowering gardens and stone stairways, sweeping lake views. And honestly, I completely understand why he stayed. Lugano feels less like a city you visit and more like a place that quietly teaches you how to slow down. Back in the historic town center, Via Nasa is the main pedestrian street lined with luxury boutiques and elegant arcades. You'll see the LAC, Lugano Arte e Cultura Center, which combines an art museum, theater, and concert hall in one sleek contemporary complex. And what makes Lugano fascinating is how the old and new constantly overlap. Near the cultural center, you'll see a facade of a Grand Belle Epoque hotel dating back to when the railroad first came through that's been redesigned, reincorporated as shops and offices. You step through an archway right there, and suddenly you're standing inside a cloister from the 1500s, surrounded by original frescoes. And it belongs to a small church right there that you can visit that's decorated by Renaissance painter Bernardo Luini. Some of the finest frescoes around. On our final evening, we boarded a boat on the Swiss side of Lago Maggiore, gliding across shimmering waters beneath dramatic alpine peaks. This region is famed for its surprisingly mild Mediterranean climate and elegant towns such as Locarno and Ascana. But scattered across the lake are enchanting islands as well, including the Brissago Islands. In the late 19th century, Baroness Antoinette de Saint-Léger transformed the larger island into an exotic botanical garden, and it became a gathering place for artists, musicians, and writers. Then in 1927, the property was purchased by a German businessman, Max Emden, and he added a grand palazzo, Roman-style baths, and a private dock. And today, you can wander lush subtropical gardens, dine at the villa, and soak in the extraordinary beauty of this serene lakeside paradise.
So thank you for joining me on this little tour of Ticino. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to learn more, please visit my website, barbaranoekennedy.com. And happy travels. Bye.